I'm Brody Folk.
I'm Ben Spence.
And this is the Pirate Podcast. Today we'll be talking to Coach Ben Rackers, who is the head coach of the ladies swim team, and this is his first year as the head coach. Coach Rackers, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Great. So this is obviously your first year as the head coach here at Platte County and as the swim coach. What have you learned about the program so far, and kind of what can give us some insight on the girls and just how the years went for you?
I've learned that they can be very resilient. It's kind of been a tough year. While COVID last year was a big impact, we've still dealt with some of those issues. But the girls have been very resilient. Their ability to fight through tough situations and bounce back and come back even stronger when somebody's been out or things like that. They've been really resilient. That's probably the word I'd use. And just what I've learned is just kind of how just how a season goes and how trying to manage a team and kind of manage the day to day and issues come up and then just kind of working through that. That's kind of probably one of the things I've taken away the most this year.
How have your seniors filled the leadership role this year?
They've made this year possible. I mean, there's 6 of them total. So we have Meredith, Ballou, Aaron Stone, Maria Molinari, Olivia Ogson, Cassidy Reinsch, and JC Henry have all been helpful in their own ways. Some of them have taken on a more traditional leadership role, kind of being that vocal leader. More Maria, Aaron, and Meredith have taken that role, right? Where they've been kind of that sounding board for myself, kind of trying to bridge how I do things, how they've done things in the past, and kind of how the girls kind of act, kind of being that sounding board for the girls too. And then you also have JC, Cassie, and Henry, who have been some more silent leaders, but they're still leaders, right? They're usually one of the first ones in the pool. They're kind of the first ones, or something comes up, one of those say, I need you to do this. Okay, they're very agreeable to do things and have kind of shown a great example to the girls of how, when the coach needs you to do something for the team, right, you kind of just say okay and do it. So I don't know if I could have survived this year without the 6 of them.
You kind of mentioned day-to-day things and how this has probably been an adjustment for some of the people. What do you think the biggest adjustment with your coaching style and the previous Coach Jenkins' coaching style was? I
think some of it's just personalities. And some of it's just didn't really know Jenkins that well, but just kind of one thing that's just kind of different personality, different. I don't think a little bit more laid back is what it kind of sounded like, and kind of. I think that's the biggest adjustment the girls had to make was that, and then also just kind of some of it too. You call it just different terminology, right? For a lot of sports, they all mean the same thing, but you have different ways of saying it. So some of it's just trying to bridge some of that terminology and getting on the same page.
In basketball, once we had a coach that called a spin move the reverse pivot, and it was kind of a whole new thing for all of us. But I'm sure it's terms like that just I was thinking football, right? You got some call a Sam linebacker or some side Mike, Will,
whatever, right? I mean, we all have different names for things, and so I think that was some of that too. Was just kind of an adjustment.
Gotcha. So this is your first year coaching at Platte County. So what are some of the challenges that you faced for the first year coaching here?
Kind of building your program.
Yeah.
Here.
I think some of it's just setting that foundation, trying to say this is because it is new coming in. We always talk about different from Coach Jenkins before. And so say this is how I want things done, right? And kind of trying to set that foundation and build that kind of culture that I would like to see in years to come, right? Because we're trying to build that program, right? It's not just this season only, right? There are some focuses for next year, years after, right? And so it's working with not only those great senior leaders that I talked about and the juniors, but also the freshmen and sophomores to say, hey, this is kind of, these are going to be the expectations we have, and as they get more familiar, it won't be all new, right? So I can pull on this kind of things we did this year for next year. It's kind of say, hey, remember we did this. We're kind of going to build on that.
Okay, so that brings me right into my next question. How are your young people? Give me some of your young standouts. Give me some of your really young swimmers that are having good years and you're going to be able to build with for the future. So we've got some really good. So Jaden Benninghoff as a sophomore who's doing really well, and I can see some big things for. Then we got 2 freshmen that are so far doing really good and going to help the team this year at state and in conference, but also I think for the future. And that'd be Madeline Stone and Ireland Shank are two freshmen that I can see they're already really good, but I can see a lot of potential in those 4 years if they continue to kind of put in that time and effort that they did this year. If they repeat that process, I can see really good things for them within the next 4 years.
Gotcha. So how do you think your team chemistry impacts your season?
I think it's huge. One, being a winter sport, there's so much. You do through a lot of holidays, right? I mean, that was probably one of the big. I go back to your biggest eye-opening things was going to keep coaching a winter sport. How much outside impacts there can be, right? I mean, you have Thanksgiving, Christmas break, your winter break. You have January, then you have to start a new semester, and so you got all that. And so I think having a group of girls that really appreciate each other helps, because then they want to be here, right? Because we had to have practice at 6 a.m. That's no fun, right? But if you like each other and appreciate and enjoy each other, I think it makes it easier to handle, right? And so some of those challenges, I think, is really where that strong chemistry comes into play.
So some of our listeners probably aren't as familiar with the swim team as they are the football programs. Say, give me kind of a rundown of the events that are in a varsity meet, and then tell me first how many swimmers you have on varsity and how many you have on JV.
So most of the year, we just compete as one team. We don't really have a JV varsity set. There are a few meets where that does kind of come into play. So conference being one, and then we had the Como Invitational was in January. There's another one where we had some varsity JV. But other than that, we really, like most dual meets or you maybe have 2 or 3 teams competing together, you just kind of compete as one team. But generally, if you do have to split up, it's the top. You get 4 entries per event in a varsity meet. And so generally that works out to about 16 swimmers on your varsity, and then just kind of after that.
How many do you have in the program?
We have 25 this year.
25? Okay.
So that left us with 16 varsity swimmers and about 9 or so JV swimmers. But generally a meet runs where you start, there's 3 relays. So start out with the medley relay, and then kind of in the middle is the 200 freestyle relay, and then we end with the 400 freestyle relay. And so in relays, there's four swimmers per relay. And in medley, one does each stroke, and then in the freestyle ones, everyone just swims a freestyle, 50 or 100. But then it runs in 200 freestyle. There's 12 events. So if you want me to list them off, I can.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah. So medley relay starts. Then we have 200 freestyle, which is 4 times down and back. Then the 200 medley, individual medley, which is where you do a 50 of every stroke. Then we have the 50 freestyle. And then this is one thing that going forward, and then it's the diving break. And so it's where you do dive from the meter.
Do you coach the diving people, or do you have another coach that kind of helps you manage the divers?
So at this point, we don't have any divers.
Oh, you don't.
That's something that I think going forward, trying to figure out a way to do that. That would probably be involved finding someone else to do that.
Coach.
That's not my area of expertise, and so I probably would not be a very good dive coach. But that would be something to try to look forward in the future, is trying to find a way to get those divers to, because it counts just as much as any other event, right? And so working there. But after diving, then is 100 butterfly, and 100 is down and back twice, 100 freestyle. Then we have the 500, which is 10 times down and back, which is one of our longer events. It is the longest event we have, and but I always enjoy it. That was one of the events I did when I was swimming, so I always enjoy it. Then we have the 200 freestyle after that. Then there's 100 back stroke, 100 breaststroke, and then we have the 400 free relay. So generally meets, like if it's just a dual meet or kind of last hour and a half, 2 hours in there, and then conference could take more to three to 4, kind of just because you have so many more teams involved.
I'm going to go straight to that because I know we're probably running a little long here, which is great because swim, I'm really enjoying listening to you talk about all these because I'm inexperienced with swim. But what are your expectations? I know you have conference tomorrow, which is Friday. What's your expectations for your team in conference?
So my general expectation is to swim better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the great thing about swim is it's really competition amongst yourself, but there's also a team aspect, right? So you get points. And so my real expectation for the team is to swim better. We really line up well we've won state the last 3 years, so we line up well for a 4-peat, just based off our ability, and then kind of some of it is just who's we're competing against, right? But I would expect that my expectation is we win conference, but my main expectation is that they swim better.
Okay, so let's hope you guys can go out there and win conference tomorrow. So now we're going to head on to our Final Four. We're going to ask you 4 quick, simple questions to end you in the podcast. Not all about swim, some about you, some about swim. But what inspired you to first start swimming?
It's something I did growing up as a kid, and then I had some friends in high school that did it, and they said, hey, you should come join us. And and I did, and it was a lot of fun. Again, it's kind of that culture we talked about earlier, right? You get to build that culture, that friendships really, really helped, and it's something I still talk to some of those guys today. So,
what is your favorite sport to watch besides swim or compete in?
So, definitely football, and it's kind of a little side note. I'm actually a football referee, so I kind of get to spend my Fridays and Saturdays out there on the football field as well. But yeah, football for sure.
So if you could watch one movie the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, one movie. I would probably have to go.
There's so many good ones.
There's so many good ones.
I know. It's hard to pick just one.
And sometimes too, it's like they're part of a trilogy, and it's like you want to like be able to pick all three.
Okay,
but,
what's your favorite trilogy?
so probably I'd have to go. Lord of the Rings is probably one of
Yeah,
mine.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I've never watched all. My dad loves them, but I've never
They're
got
so
to watch them all.
good. Yeah, we used to have a family tradition when they were coming out that like we would go see it on Christmas or
Yeah.
New Year's Day. Actually, was when we go see it. So it was always those would probably be it.
All right. For our last question, what's your favorite food?
Ooh, tacos.
Tacos.
They're so versatile. You can put anything in them. It's tacos.
There's a kid in our other sports marketing class, and he loves tacos so much too. So.
Oh, it's the way to go.
Well, thank you for joining us here today. It was good talking to you, and good luck tomorrow at conference.
I appreciate it. Again, like you talked about, not many people know about swim, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk with you guys and kind of maybe catch some more people. Because again, boys swim is in the fall, right? So if anybody's interested, for sure, Coach Anderson or I know myself would love to have anybody and everybody come out and because it is a lot of fun. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.